Hey, everybody. Welcome to the collective. How'd the audio go on that one?
It just went bonkers again.
Went bonkers again.
Yeah.
3 seconds, not enough, eh?
The time seemed good. Is when you started talking, it did it. I wonder if it's
Did.
something about the triggering the first. Once the
thing.
sound first hits it. Did you try to do a test run where you actually don't speak for like 20 seconds and then you start talking? See what happens?
I haven't yet. I haven't tried that, but we could.
It's
so
also
weird,
the
man.
intro, the drum roll going. Like again, I think that maybe that's a high peak, and then when you speak, it has to stabilize to your level, and that's
Yeah.
creating some garble. I don't know.
So
Maybe
weird.
strip out the intro next time to see, and to
Yeah.
Seb's point, maybe just a big delay. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, it's all things to try. I was also thinking that maybe I'll be the only one on the screen initially on the
Yeah, that's not bad.
and
Yeah,
maybe that, and then bring you guys in afterwards. But
yeah, I like
we'll see.
that. Yeah.
So welcome to the collective. We have a fantastic show planned for you today. We're going to be talking about the state of the collective. It's been 6 months. We've done, as you said just a second ago, 182 live shows this year, which is kind of ridiculous. And
So crazy.
we are, looking forward to another 182. I can't
At
do the math
least.
right now. Something like that. Looking forward to more. And we're going to be doing some cool stuff. I started with the new imagery today. What do you guys think of that one?
I didn't have enough time to tightly look at it. I
okay.
was running between video edits and a bunch of nonsense. So
Yeah,
it's a bit too big for me. To be the piece, I prefer the old let's all be equal and have a conversation.
You are the image on that one.
Yeah,
for
sure.
For anybody that's out there, by all means, it's going to be kind of an AAR show. We're going to be discussing all the different points of the collective so far. So if you have any thoughts, hit us up in the comments. If you got any questions, hit us up in the comments. We will discuss them as per normal. We're not going to be talking about mental health today. Crazy enough how that seems, but
yeah, that's actually a good change. Probably
it is a nice change. Yeah,
I like that image.
You like it?
I do.
It's crisp.
Yeah, you're very small on it. That's probably why you like it.
I like it.
Tiny little guy in the corner.
You bastard.
Yeah. Well, I think
it looks tight though. It looks pro.
It looks
pro. It looks slick.
That was from Tanya. I added a couple of things there just to make a little bit mine, so she can give me things to change later.
Oh yeah,
which is awesome. And yeah, I can learn from there, which is great. So I'm liking the new imagery. We got obviously the new imagery as well.
Dude, we leveled up about 12 spots on that one. I feel like we could probably just sit on a bench for a little while and let everyone catch up to us now that you've moved it up that far of a level. You know what I mean?
But we can't do that, can we? The standard is the standard. We will maintain that. So what do you guys think on your first thoughts on 6 months of this stuff? Seb, what do you think? Because you're kind of insider, outsider, you're kind of in and out, left and right. What have you noticed, seen?
Yeah, man. For me, nothing's changed since the last time we spoke. I mean, it's, unmatched as far as I'm concerned. And in fact, it's not just as far as I'm concerned. If you believe that there's something out there that matches it, by all means, share it, because we can all benefit from that. But I certainly haven't seen it. And I think that we're just scratching the surface, right? As we continue, and as you guys are continuing to evolving the product, as we get more and more people involved, pulling in the same direction, build more and more momentum around the show and around the important subjects that are being discussed, man. I can see a bunch of people spending 6 months going back in time and starting at number one, and try to really catch and capture the majority of this. At the end of the day, though, like if I look at this to me, whether there's one view or 100,000, somebody's life has been made better as a result of that. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters. And to start quantifying, is 100,000 lives better than one life? And it'd be ideal to have a big reach, but I believe this is an investment. I said this before and I'll say it again. It doesn't really matter who's watching now. Just wait till somebody realizes what kind of holy grail this is, and you will see it. just get the attention it deserves, in my opinion.
That's awesome. Shaun, what are you thinking?
Yeah, when we first kicked this thing off, I pretty regularly, it'd be like every week or every second week, sometimes every couple of days, I'd say, holy moly, I just like leveled up. I feel like I got an upgrade. And as the weeks went by, of course, I still was getting upgrades, but I started losing track of the upgrades. I just got used to the rhythm, and I just got used to absorbing, and I just got used to being better every week because of the collective. And so I kind of stopped saying it, but I did used to say it fairly regularly, not just to remind everyone else about what's going on over here, but to acknowledge it myself. And it'd just be a random thought like, man, I cannot even believe what I learned this week. And so Chance and I were talking yesterday, and I said words to the effect of, dude, man, you're just freaking killing it right now. And, with the whole thing that you've got going on and all of the good stuff that you've done. I don't think I called you, you're on the right trajectory for Dad of the Year currently, but
that was after the
that was after the fact. But that was kind of the language that I was using on how much you've elevated your game. I mean, it's bonkers how visible it is to me, how much you've order of magnituded yourself. And then you said something back to me, which I'm not used to. And it's like, hey, man, like you're doing good as well. You're getting better at this. You're the way that you speak and the way that blah, blah, blah. And I was like, what? First of all, I don't like hearing that.
I saw the discomfort in your face right away. Wait a minute.
Pat me on the back. Tell me what I'm doing wrong. So first of all, I was a little uncomfortable with that. But then I thought, yeah, you know what? He's right. And I haven't said that in a while. When I used to say it fairly frequently, I've got to a point where I never say it at all now because of the collective. So here I am stating that the biggest thing as I look back on the last 6 months is the realization of how much you can learn over here if you just keep your ears open.
Yeah. One of the things I said to you yesterday that I wanted to reiterate was I don't think I've ever done anything every day for 6 months that I wanted to in a row. And I've done lots of things, but I don't think I've done them every day for 6 months. And the amount of change that I've been able to see, which is again looking at myself, so I'm not seeing as much as probably other people are seeing. It's been night and day. I went back and I compiled the master list of all the topics that we've done, and that's going to be coming out later today onto the IG page and stuff. Man, I had to take 184 shows. Some were about kind of similar stuff, some were about the same, but I broke it down into about 10 general topics.
Amazing.
But still, there's depth there that I would never have thought before I'd actually physically piece episode by episode
compiled.
of this. Exactly. So it was pretty crazy.
Yeah. And the guests. I mean, so there's really a few things going on. There is the list of topics that we've covered, the depth that we've covered topics to, the number of guests we've had, the diversity of guests we've had, can you even believe this person is coming on our goofy little podcast? Guests that we've had, those guests that have led to what? He knows that guy and that guy wants to come on our podcast. Guests. I mean, sometimes I just shake my head. It's but I guess it's paying off. The hard work is paying off, is what I'm seeing.
Yeah. One of the things just as you were talking about guests was the fact that we've said this before actually in a few episodes, was like utilizing the network, right? Being able to really have friends who have friends who have friends who have friends who have friends, right? And you just start utilizing it, not in a negative way. I'm not manipulating people to say, hey man, who do you know that I could talk to? I think I have said that before, but I'm not doing it in a negative manner. But that's open doors to 4th, 5th, 6th door friend through friend through friend through friend through friend that have, General Gronsky one of them. Alan Shabero, like all of his friends, and then their friends, and then like it's been absolutely insane. Any other thoughts on that? I was just gonna say we should start talking about stuff that we don't.
I do have a thought on that. The reason that those doors are opening is because the people who are opening it are into what we're doing. Like if someone came over and we totally botched it, or we were a couple of knuckleheads as co-hosts, then those doors wouldn't open. And it's not just doing it right in the one episode. Some of these guests are watching 10 episodes before they give the nod to come on to be a guest, because they don't want to be associated with knuckleheads. And so there's some caliber of people that are showing up as guests that are elevated, and they're showing up because they've done their homework and they have faith that they're going to be treated accordingly. The topics are going to be worth their time. The depth of conversation is going to benefit everyone. So, it's good. It's good to see that it's shaping up how we hoped it would.
I also think that recognition bias in our communities is super important, right? And if you don't have that, and somebody can vouch for somebody, it's always a good thing. If somebody vouches for the show, it's very likely that will have a massive impact. And then there's the other piece, which is if you take guys like, say, Pat Mack, or some of these bigger names like Mark and a bunch of others that we've had on, oftentimes those guys are treated like by mostly fanboys, right? Again, I think this is, and there's nothing wrong with that, aside from if you're going on a podcast and you want to have a conversation that's meaningful, having 3 people fanboying on you doesn't work. Whereas if you're able to have like a regular, regardless if you have 500,000 or 2 million followers on Instagram, you're having a regular conversation with some other dudes, and you are talking about meaningful things, and you're having in depth of conversations. It makes a big difference. A lot of those guys don't have that on the daily. I mean, I look at my inbox, and Shaun, I look at yours, and our numbers are astronomically lower than anybody else who's anybody in the world of social media. So I can only imagine what this could lead to.
It's, you say Pat Mack, and he is a name that comes to mind for obvious reasons, of course. And so one of the funny things is I follow Pat, and I think he follows me. I'm not sure. I haven't checked. But just the other day, I put up a post that I should probably talk about. And it was me just standing here with, I'll use my other live chat podcast mug. I'm just standing here with my coffee mug and looking at the camera. Took a quick photo and put that up as a picture to talk about the careers that I've done in the past. And that's the first time I've ever done anything like that. Listed the careers that I've done and talked about myself, in only to use it as a means to talk about the call to adventure. And I was hoping that my career paths would demonstrate that I seek adventure. I seek 180-degree career changes. I seek fluid volatility to some degree. I just wanted to inspire others to know that you don't have to be one-dimensional. Sure. And like, it made me really freaking uncomfortable. And as I was writing it, actually, Seb's voice was in my head. You've got to mention from time to time that you used to be a tier 1 operator. and you're right. I have to lay claim to some of the things that I've done, if only to inspire others to pursue that kind of a lifestyle, the kind of lifestyle that has adventure in it. So anyway, I did my little piece, and freaking Pat Mack out of the blue liked it. I was like, what? Pat Mack likes something that I'm doing out here out in the sticks, out in the weeds? How weird. But it's cool because, when Pat Mack came on, I just thought he was another great guy out of all of the other great guys that we've had. And yeah, he's Pat Mack, but I didn't treat him like he was on a podium. He was just another great dude. And it's nice that it's got to be refreshing for him to not have to like things because of X or don't like things because of Y, or he can come over to a podcast and just hang out and be his cool self without trying hard or whatever. I mean, he can just hang out. Mm-hmm. If I was in his shoes, I'd want to come to this podcast just to chillax and talk with like-minded people,
Totally. Yeah. And as you mentioned before, like just the elevation that comes out of this, I mean, I've noticed it massively as well. And I mean, it's not like I haven't been on 100 podcasts before that. I have. But these conversations are very different. They're less one-sided. They're more bilateral, right? And so you're getting so much more out of them. And I was thinking about that a couple of days ago, a couple of nights ago, how much my view of things evolved as we are engaging the conversation. So I will have a certain viewpoint at the beginning, and midway through I've discovered a certain subset or branched off into some other direction, and reevaluated something that I took for granted for years, and all this good stuff. So I mean, ultimately, there's such a rewarding feeling associated with that. It's almost like, you know how you feel after you read a really good book and you've learned a ton out of it. That's exactly how it feels like, but every show. So
Yeah.
so it
So
is. So it
let,
is.
let me
Yeah.
hit you with this because it just popped into my head.
Hmm.
You're right. It is like reading a good book, but the difference is you never get to meet the author.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? So every
Hmm.
day you can be over here meeting the author. Like you say something that just blows my little peanut, and I'm like, yeah, but I know the author. And
Yeah.
then it's tangible. Then it's something that is real. You know
Hmm.
what I mean?
Hmm.
That
Yeah.
dusty book in the back of the university that no one's ever read, maybe it's got wisdom in it, but I can't connect with the author. I can only connect with the words. But if I'm connecting to your words in a podcast, I can also connect to greater depths that I've observed about you, how you live your life, how you blah, blah, blah. All of the things that are um, tangible aspects of a person's life trajectory, but you can rarely observe in the real time or in the past because most of the great authors out there don't exist anymore. They're long gone.
Hmm.
Some of the greatest wisdoms are from thousands of years ago, and so it's just fun to be able to put a wisdom face to a wisdom name in 3D over here. I think.
Yeah.
I like that. Being able to apply not only the information, but the information from that person is it's really neat because you're right. If you were to read a book from, let's say, 100 years ago, and that might have wisdom in it, but you then have to take the time to apply it and interpret it into how you're gonna live life right now, versus being able to talk to the person right there, see how they live their life directly and how it applies to your life. Makes it removes the step completely, which is fantastic.
Well, it's
Remove the
someone gets to
guesswork.
see, someone that's
Yes,
right.
yeah,
Someone gets to see the proof of
interpretation.
concept.
Hmm.
Yeah,
You get to see the evidence of the words rather than just talk is cheap. Actions and talk are, you can see it in the person who's talking. They're living a good life because they're actioning the words that I'm hearing in the podcast. And an image just came to mind. It's something that James Gearing put up just a little while ago from Behind the Show podcast, and it was an image of four doctors, or sorry, four medical professionals. I don't even know if that's the right term.
Or
Four
the health
medical
ministers.
representatives, the national health ministers for Canada, Denmark,
Mhm.
England, and I think it was the United States. Those four countries. It was appalling.
Mhm.
Did you see that image?
I did. Yeah, one of them was definitely not the Canadian health minister, but it certainly doesn't speak to the reality of the Canadian health minister
That's
anyway,
right.
because
That's right.
they all look the same.
They all look the
yeah,
same.
So yeah.
Talk, but not walk the
Mhm.
talk, and
Yeah.
literally. And so that's the kind of stuff that is super disappointing to me when someone gets in front of a microphone and speaks nationally about how to live your life, but they've never lived that life themselves. And how on earth can you understand how to engage with Canadians on topics that you don't practically live? And so that image popped into my head for that reason, because that's what I will never do over here. I will never talk about things that I can't talk about being an astronaut because, obviously I'm not. But there are people out there who will and try to conflate the fact that they've done X, Y, and Z into now they're an astronaut. And I just don't see us doing that over here. But if someone did, they're instantly held accountable. I think we're to some degree protected against the overinflated sense of how well we're doing because, it's not that we get chippy with each other, but we don't let anyone slide into the realm of non-reality.
Yeah, 100%. On that note, we are this is the neat part is that chippiness usually happens in the green room. And so there is actually going to be some chippiness coming forward as the green room concept is developed or is laid out, and it's coming very soon. You guys are gonna be able to watch some of the green room stuff. So as a pre warning to you, Seb, we're recording.
Yeah.
So we got a couple comments. Salty, you're building a community of mutual mentoring. That's a great way of putting it. I really like that a lot. You guys got any thoughts on it?
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit yesterday, I think, based on that question that was asked right at the end of yesterday's podcast. And I think it was by KH, was it? Or
Yeah, Carl.
Yeah, Carl, and basically, I'll paraphrase it along the lines of how best to mentor someone. And I think my simple answer was just keep watching what we're doing over here. Watch what I do with my life. That's what I've kind of directed my, I quit my job to do this job, and the job is try to show mentorship, try to show people how to do it better, try to be a good example of how to live a decent life, and et cetera, et cetera. I also stated that I'm not the best at it. I will make mistakes, but what we're doing over here is trying to mentor the community, and the community that's showing up as guests, they're part of the mentorship program. And so I just see it as a strong group of mentors trying to mentor across Canada now in a digital sense. Am I off base with that?
I think you're right on the money. Seb, you got any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, there's no boundaries anyways, right? And I would go a step further and say it's almost transnational now, if not international, because we have all these guests from everywhere. And really, that's the way it should be. I mean, imagine if humanity was one entity with less divide and less boundaries and less whatever impediment to connection. And what best to do it than a platform like this?
Yeah, absolutely. Chris K says, right now you're only about 10% optimized. Once all the YouTube features are used, then you will get exponential growth. Well, that is outstanding. let's get to
I'd like to
that.
add something to that. So since we're talking about the state of the collective, and I know there's a bunch of things that we could talk about, but Chris brings to mind the fact that we do have people helping us in the background. Chris would be one of them. Tanya would be another individual that was already mentioned today. So there are people helping us in the background, and I want to give them a nod for the work that they do that is unseen, and that's the hardest kind of work. Is the work that is done in the shadows, where you don't get a pat on the back or a round of applause or any acknowledgement until these rare moments where the three of us can nod our heads and say, yeah, we do have people helping us in the background. So my hat's off to the people who are helping.
Yeah, good point. Thank you for bringing that up. And then Jazza says, looks good. I'm assuming that's supposed to be Master Corporal. Appreciate that. Not a Master Corporal anymore. Just a dude. And you can, it actually is with an L though, just for future reference, MCPL. Now let's think about what we could do better. So we've talked about how awesome we are for the last 20 minutes. What do you guys think?
With that shaved face, there's nothing more that we can really do this year that's going to top that. So, I mean, it's really just a matter of what's going to be number 2 right now.
Why don't we just take a picture of Chance and put it on every picture, on every photo?
Every single poster. That's it.
Times Square, baby.
Yeah, billboard. Dude, take your hat off.
Oh my goodness.
Take your hat off, and then it's a real billboard.
No shit.
What?
There you go. You're getting the whole kit and caboodle right there. See the giant forehead.
Bam.
Yeah, it's good time.
It's really rare that you see people where your hairline starts 12 inches away from your eyebrows.
Right.
That's right. Like a foot and a half above your chin is unusual.
Well, like I said, that's how I'm so tall. It's not like me. It's the forehead on top of it. Right? So there's lots of good times there.
Now, you know what's funny though? What is fun is 6 months ago, you wouldn't have been able to do that. You know, you weren't as free spirited and relaxed and happy with who you are and confident and all of that good stuff. It just wouldn't have worked out that way. You know what I'm saying? It's fun. It's
It
fun to
is.
watch you crush it.
Also, it looks good. Seriously.
Yeah,
Well, I
the
appreciate
face.
It does.
It's the forehead we're all concerned about.
You
I
can
don't know
keep
how to bring
hats
that
on,
down.
though. Just
Yeah,
keep
keep
hats
your hat
on.
on.
Yeah,
I mean,
the hat on.
that was a one and done. Don't do it again.
Don't do it again. I don't want to blind you guys, right? Like that's the other part. It never tans. That's the other part too, because I always have a hat on, so it's always really white. That was another thing, random thought, but you can actually see where the beard line is
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
for
Because
the
it's
tan.
never seen sun in
yeah,
10 years.
yeah, exactly. It's been a long time.
Mm.
But yeah, besides my beard, what else could we do better? What do you guys think? Anything?
No, I don't actually is the answer. But what I do know is we need to be creative in finding ways to reach out to create some views, some content. Perhaps start considering TikTok as a platform. Which I'm not a big TikTok fan, but it is what it is. It does work and it creates a lot of traffic, and some of those things would be good. To pass along some of the shorter messages and some of the mic drop moments that we've had as we've started doing here, even on the page and Instagram, but perhaps have some on TikTok as well, so you can start hitting larger numbers. And the proliferation on the posts on TikTok is quite astronomical. Something goes viral real quick, and so for me, and again, I say this with reservation because I'd rather have 500 engaged followers than 5,000 that don't care. And they're just there to hang out and whatever. But I think some of those might be some avenues. And then if there is no substantial growth, say over the next 6 months or whatever, we need to start looking at what's out there that we're missing, and perhaps we may not be the ones that can come up with that. So guys like Chris and others that have experience in the field can step up and kind of help us or steer us, so to speak. And we're very open to constructive criticism always, and how we can do it better, and never hesitate. One of the things that you said, Shaun, that's really interesting about recognizing the people that work behind the scene, and this is people that are working behind the scene when this channel was nothing. That is very different than somebody that does something behind the scene when the channel is already either successful or there's some appeal of the gain. Even if there's no financial retribution, there can be an underlying motive. Whereas now there's definitely isn't. And so when you're looking at these people that are willing to help and step up to help create something that's truly meaningful, and they're doing it at a time where there's nothing for them to gain, that to me right there speaks volume.
Yeah, and I think it was pretty critical that right at the start, we kind of looked each other in the eye, and I recall distinctly stating almost word for word this: we will never be selling ShamWows. I won't have anyone on here that needs to pitch a book or a VCR collection set, or want us to represent their brand or whatever just because. I just will never do that, ever. The only way that I'll align with people who want to sponsor what we're doing over here is if it's like-minded people who get it. I'll never sell out, not for all the money in the world. And that's been an important inception for us these first 6 months. The people who've shown up have shown up full well knowing that they're not going to sell a t-shirt if they show up over here. They're showing up out of their own good heart, their own care to do better for the world. And that's what I dig, and I don't see us ever straying from that model.
And I mean, it would be disingenuous for us to not recognize that obviously if there is exposure, then it's positive for that person anyways.
Correct.
Right? But that person is in charge of that. They're in charge of that through their actions, which in this case is being a part of the conversation and contributing something meaningful to the conversation. And so it's not like they're coming on selling something. They're coming on being who they are. And if it just so happened that with the exposure to get something out of that, then good for them, kind of deal.
Yeah, and who comes immediately to mind is Mental Joe Apparel, who we've had on, was it 3 times now, Chance?
3 times now, yeah.
I think. And, the first time and the second time, there was a difference in in chat between his 2 showings, and I thought, that guy's doing better. And then the third time, that guy's doing even better. And we got talking about the subject to some degree, and he was giving us a nod, saying, he's kind of holding up his end of the bargain, as it were, which I totally dig. And then right out of the blue, he sent Chance and I. Like I've got a rash guard and a pair of no-gi shorts and a couple of t-shirts from him. And the other day I was on the BJJ mats with my youngest son, getting him back into the BJJ game, and of course I'm gonna wear his gear because he likes on the BJJ. He's talking about how he's getting back into the BJJ. It's really comfortable gear. It's phalanx.
It's really nice.
And that dude came over here 3 times on his own volition, just because he wants to make the world a better place. Well, hell yeah, I'm going to wear his gear.
100%.
So
exactly.
It's almost a privilege for me to wear it.
Yeah, you bring such an important point, and I am massively behind anybody who's pulling in the same direction, and when I say in the same direction, I mean they can be doing it in a different way. It doesn't have to be my way, but what I am saying is positively contributing to the collective in a way that's constructive and that moves the needle forward. That's all I care about, and that's legitimate. That's not based upon some sort of fantasy or some sort of image, makeshift image, or it is real, it is genuine, it is well intended, and as a byproduct they might be successful. I don't care about that, because they can be successful. I mean, I'm not going to take success away from people on account as if you're successful. You obviously were, we're looking for something to gain. I mean, you can't, you want people to be successful. And so if I am to stand and have some and wear something or drink out of a cup or whatever the case may be, and it has any sort of exposure, let's make it supporting the people that support, period.
Yeah,
that support others.
And you know why I brought this subject up? Because I saw you wearing your Through Dark shirt. And it's actually, I'd be remiss not to state why I was thinking that specifically. It's because Seb is a guy who taught me to do this a little bit better in the sense of represent others who are doing it well. And I know Seb is a big fan of Through Dark and their gear, their quality of gear, etc. And it's not so much just the fine quality of their material, it's what they represent. It's what the company represents, what the brand represents. It's what the ethos is. It's what their mindset is. 100%. It's that relentless pursuit of excellence sort of trajectory that I love. And so Seb actually taught me to do that piece better, to give the nod to people who are out there, some of these smaller institutions or businesses, etc., that are like We Defy as an example, that are just trying to do better for people, that I in the past would look at them and think, that's nice. But now my job is to think, that's nice, and why is it nice? And now I'm going to explain to others why that's nice, and let's get behind that little company because they're doing good in the world. So that's what I've learned from Seb over the last 6 months, by the way, just through casual conversations and such. It is an important factor for sure.
And what you soon realize is, I can make a few correlation with leadership as well, but what you soon realize is that there is nothing threatening about supporting somebody that, quote unquote, is doing something in the same space as you, right? And I think a lot of people still have a hard time with that. Like, there's a lot of people that will want people to proliferate their material, but they will never put up something that isn't from them. So now there's like that real resistance. So it's like, well, I want to have a collaboration, but it's not truly a collaboration. It's a one-way thing where I get to use your platform for my content, but then the other way around doesn't necessarily work. And this isn't
reciprocal.
Yes, this is in high school, but when you start actually investing in others, and they're investing back, and you're not doing it for that reason, but it organically happens if it's done correctly, you actually both elevate. It works quite the opposite of what people give it credit for. Like, it's not just one shoots for the stratosphere and all of a sudden, and so that's why I always told Shaun, like, look, if whoever makes it to Joe Rogan first calls the other one in.
That's true. You did say that.
That's a good deal. That's a good deal.
I'll help you get there, but remember me.
That is true. You did say that.
Yeah.
And I think I think at the time I laughed even more than I just did.
Yes, you did, because you weren't even podcasting at
all. That's true.
Yeah, I got a couple more comments here. I just want to hit up real fast. Is Chris K says, agree with Seb. The collective kids, they learn internet marketing, coaching, etc. from volunteering with the collective. They get a letter of reference from you. That's a great idea. Possibility for the future for sure. Kyle Ashbourne says, been watching regularly for a couple of months and have taken so much from it. All the guests are great and all the conversations are insightful and inspiring. Amazing. The state of the collective is strong. Ooh, I should have started with that one.
That's awesome.
That. Yeah.
And then Doc C says, I love the show concept, rooting for you guys. And he says, Seb is so right. In business, fast food is an example. Burger King next to Taco Bell. Help each other.
Yeah. Except both of those things don't help anybody else. But whatever.
That's two evil podcasts sitting next to each other.
General example, though. Well, let's say that the Burger King and Taco Bell employees are helping each other with the sign wars and stuff like that.
I'm totally heating up Dr.
But you know, I know this from a practical perspective. When I owned my second cup downtown Calgary, it started off as a underperforming location. That's why I bought it. I wanted to see if I could convert it into a doubler. I could double its performance. And so there was a Starbucks directly across the street from me. I was like, man, that's going to be a handful. And I just thought, good, more competition, freaking bring it, Starbucks, I'll crush you. And so I, over a period of time, over a couple of years, I got to observe hard work with my staff, with my clientele, with the vibe, with the whole thing, just hard work, and how I slowly eroded the lineup in front of Starbucks until the lineup was in front of my shop. It just takes a long time. And every time that I saw an extra customer in my cafe versus across the street, here's what I thought. Not good for Shaun. Good for my customers, because the more customers that showed up, the better the vibe. One of my favorite days would be, you know, early in the morning, I'd be behind my 3 group head espresso machine doing the magic. And someone would come across through my double doors at the far side of my cafe. And as soon as they'd open the doors, and the place would be rocking, jammed out. And I'd look over the heads in front of the espresso machine and say, "What's up, Johnny?" And then just get back to it, because it was my place. But it wasn't just my place. It required a certain critical mass of customer buy-in for everyone to get it. You can't do crazy things like, "What's up, Johnny?" If you've just opened on day one and there's only 2 customers in there, they're leaving. But if you've got 20, 30, 50 people in the cafe, everyone knows the vibe, everyone's upbeat, everyone's digging the tunes, everyone knows Johnny. Everyone's stoked. Everyone's in the game. They know the game. That's why they come that morning for the game. And so that model is easily, you can easily replicate it in the podcasting arena like we are right now. It just make a cool coffee shop, you know?
You know, this is probably one of the first times in history over the course, and I mean within the next like 30 or 40 years, we'll say 30 years, 20 to be safe, where connecting with humans is actually a critically rare and important skill that isn't being used. And we're at a time now where this will make or break, you know, not only a business, but an endeavor like that. And so there's so many people going about, you know, making a buck and generating revenue on a larger scale and depersonalizing things and having less relationships. And now you're calling a business, you're not talking to anybody. You have a pre-recorded message and you have 19 options. You're there for 78 minutes and you listen to 3 absolutely horrible CDs of holding in line music. But all of this stuff. So if you have the ability to establish a real human connection with people, that is a winning formula from a humanity standpoint, but on multiple fronts, even from the business standpoint. It's very, very rare.
It is happening over here, though. I do
It
feel
is.
it.
Yeah,
I feel it in
100%.
my live IG chats. Like I'm figuring out to some degree how to better connect with people through the virtual space. I, one of the things that I've learned over the last 6 years is how bad I've been at it over the last year. Oh man, I was stinking up the place. I can't even. It's like, who was that Shaun who was absolutely redonkulously terrible in front of the camera? And now I just see a different Shaun. I'm still not pleased with it, but at least it's not stinking up the place because I'm starting to figure out how to do this better. Man, it takes a long time though.
Mm. Yeah, it takes a long time and it takes active work. It's
Mm,
because you could do it. You could do 200 podcasts. We've spoken about this before. I've spoken to many of people, been on lots of podcasts, and when you ask them, when you listen to your podcast, how do you feel about yourself? So you crazy? I never listen to my podcast. Wrong.
wrong.
That's precise. Exactly. How are you supposed to get better? So, yes, it is annoying. Yes, nobody wants to hear the sound of their own voice. Imagine being ASL on top of that. I mean, for me, it was just driving me crazy. But every single day, I'd be going over and over and over. And those are some of the things that I consistently do. And I need to stop saying it. And I need to stop doing it. So, anyways, the point I'm making is there is a ton of work in truly improving, because you can improve
There
ever so
is.
slightly. But if you want to have a marked improvement over a period of time, which is a reasonable period of time, because it's reasonably fast. I mean, it's been 6 months. Yes, you're doing them every
Yeah.
day, twice a
Mhm.
day. So I get it. You're probably 300,
Well,
live
well,
in.
well. You know what the math is? The math is 740 times this year. I've
Wow.
listened to
So
myself on a podcast because I
exactly.
do 370 lives to date this year,
Hmm.
and then I'll listen to both of them again later today. So it's times two, the times two. So
Wow.
I'm
Yeah.
740 times. I've got
Hmm.
to get better or listen to myself get better at this game. That's why I'm getting better, is because it's a mega amount of work to
Totally
get
is.
better.
And what I do find, and I don't know if you find this, Sean, but I know for me, I will rid myself of a certain issue, and it will creep back. Like you
Oh
have to be,
yeah. Oh yeah.
you have to be mindful of that. Like there's certain things and certain things that you have a tendency to do will come back to haunt you all the time. So you need to not only address them, but you need to monitor to see if you've started doing it again, because slowly you creep right back into your comfort zone. Right? Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. It's one of the challenges of speaking in general, right? If you don't speak enough, then you make a lot of mistakes because you don't have that practice. You don't have the reps in, and yeah, my elocution has definitely increased quite a bit just from the fact that I have to have an hour-long conversation with people every day at a bare minimum, and
It's doing push-ups, man.
yeah,
It's doing
Yeah.
burpees. It's
Yeah.
it's
just
it's
reps.
running. It's getting on the chin-up bar. It's anything that you want to get better at. It takes practice. It takes consistency. It takes time.
Hmm.
Want to get better at something? Give yourself a year. Want to get really good at something? Give yourself 10 years.
If you're
Don't give yourself a
invested.
day. Yeah, yeah, invest. Yeah, of
Yeah.
Yeah,
course.
Because I mean, you can
absolutely.
give yourself a year and wait and sit back and nothing happens, right? But if you're actively engaged in the process of getting better, and jiu-jitsu would be a good exemplification of that,
Hmm.
or any martial arts for that matter. But yeah, man, crazy.
And for folks who are listening to us right now, I this should act as a literal case study of how to do things better. Also, there's no secret sauce to this. We showed up on day one, not knowing what we were going to do or how to do it or whatever, where this would end up. And 6 months later, through daily effort, we're now here. And who knows what it'll look like 6 months from now, but I'm not concerned about that because the rhythm is in place now. The consistent execution on a daily basis to meet the standard that we keep elevating every day. The
Hmm.
standard will maintain itself by us pushing the pace and showing up every day.
And it's important
100%.
to have the savages involved in the process that pushes every single one of us individually, always having that rabbit to chase, always. And we all need that. we
Oh,
we
yeah.
we, we need that. We need to be able to measure against, and so that we may step up and elevate. But as long as we're doing that, and as long as we have the mindset that is conducive to pursuing that growth, There's the sky's the limit. There is no limit.
Agreed.
Would you say that this is basically it's being a really good mentee, right? In order to be a good mentee, you have to want to be better, and you have to be focused on the person that you are looking at as your mentor. And I'm going to be like that guy until you get to a point where you're like, okay, I'm pretty sure the things that I want out of that guy, cool. Now I'm going to be like that guy, and you got to go from there. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, bro. I totally didn't mean to interrupt there. But what I was gonna say is, and I had a bit of a mouth endy, is I never look at someone and be like, I want to be that guy. I always look
said that.
I always look at someone and say, this piece that person is doing can really help me improve in that department. And this piece that this other person is doing can really help me improve, and go like this. It doesn't change the amount of respect I have for them, but it doesn't overinflate it either, because that's a dangerous trap to fall into. You now you subconsciously start self-deprecating and
or hero worshiping.
Sure, precisely, and that stifles your own growth, and as you are helping somebody elevate, and you keep them up there.
And it's unfair to both parties, because it's unfair to the person who doesn't even know they're being elevated, and so they're just trying to figure out, dude, why are you so weird? Don't be weird, man. We're just dudes hanging out. Just chillax. Can we just talk like normal people? Stop treating me like a hero. Just if everyone can just see eye to eye and understand that we're supposed to look for the things in a person that impresses and we want to be more like, that's what we're pursuing, is excellence. But I will throw this out there. I think it's also an important to expand the thought construct to some degree. And it's, I look for excellence even in people I don't like. So there's people I like and there's people I don't like. And the people that I don't like, there'll be things about them that I need to get better at, or things that I need to note and figure out why, and better understand them as a person. And so sometimes through pursuing a certain attribute or trait or positive thing that's buried in all of that negativity, then maybe I can start to understand the person a little bit better. And then when the time is right, when I can find the right common platform to engage in that person in the future, near future, mid future, long future, doesn't matter. But when the time is right, I'll be able to look them in the eye and say, hey, man, you know what? I really love your Frisbee game. I liked it so much that I started practicing Frisbee myself. And what I've noted is ... And then I can get on with a conversation with that person, and then maybe find a way to communicate with them and draw a little bit more over to the positive side of my operating sphere to some degree.
Sure, and even if you didn't, it's already benefited you to have the ability to take the good out of everybody. I mean, you should be able to learn from anybody you stand in, even if it means learning what not to do. It really doesn't matter.
And I said this to Chance just, I think it was yesterday. We're talking about the mental health piece and how successful that's been, and how, I mean, there's some characters that I don't know, and there's some messages there that I thought, I don't know if I want to share that, because I don't identify with that person, or actually I don't like that person, or I don't like how they speak, or I don't like how he's squinting at me through his camera right now. Whatever we think, whatever goes through our stupid little heads. If we think I don't really want to share that, well, that's on me, because that person deserves to be shared. And if mental health thinks that it's important for that voice to be shared, it's important. So why am I getting in my own way and either judging or seeing something about a person that is either real or not? I mean, that person has a voice. And if the message is important, I shouldn't be putting all of the luggage or baggage, the skeletons in the closet, in front of the person's voice. Their voice should be heard. And then maybe down the road, if I ever bump into them, I can say, hey, man, I really appreciate what you had to say, but let's talk about ...
It's when you push the envelope in the in the sort of mental exploration or in the subject or topics that we're getting into, it is inevitable that you are going to say stupid stuff. Like, it is inevitable. It's going to happen. Like, you can't have a mind that's consistently driven by exploration and toying with all kinds of concepts and all kinds of ideas and really developing things from scratch. And you're doing it as you are speaking.
Oh yeah.
Eventually the words will outrun your brain, right? And it's normal. And so that's
Guaranteed.
why when I hear people speak about certain speakers that are very invested in the intellectual pursuit and everything, and they will, mention something they said that one off time, when they were exploring a concept or whatever the case may be, and they wrote him off as a result of that. I'm like, you just wrote off a person that's creative with their thinking on account of them making a mistake. You know what they say: professional push until they get it right. Amateur push until they get it right. Professional push until they get it wrong. You need, and that's where those left and right of arc are in the intellectual pursuit. And so, very interesting concepts, but happens.
Yeah, it is. It is, and I guess the idea that I was putting across, and I know you understand this, Seb, is it's the patternized mistakes, or
Sure,
not mistakes.
100%.
It's the patternized ignorance, or the
Mm.
patternized just being a goof.
Mm-hmm.
Every single day showing up and saying goofy things, being
Yeah.
ignorant, being a tool, being evil, being a jerk.
Or whiner.
Or whiner, correct. So the pattern being that if that's your daily, what am I supposed to do with that? If someone is 9 times out of 10 being a goof, and then 1 time out of 10 they're getting into the conversation and saying something good, like, what do you do with that? Well, in this case, I'm trying to just focus on good and trying to push the good message and trying to ignore the other 9 times pattern that person is just being a goof. It's a tricky one to
Sure it is.
I'm still trying to figure it out, of course. And I know, to your point, Seb, in the past, if I had a time machine, I would retract a bunch of stupid things that I've said.
Mhm.
And to
Right.
your point, and precisely to your point, when I'm in these early days of the collective, and still to this day, I'm very playful in the collaborative conversations over here. Like, sometimes if I'm messing around with my language, I'm countering myself invisibly to the crowd in front of me, perhaps, because I'm saying things that I don't agree with, just to pull other things out of people, to stir that soup bowl of stuff that we've got going on at the moment. I love a adventurous conversation, and sometimes I have to say borderline dumb things to draw the conversation in a unique way. And I have had regretful moments, but that's the way it is. I'm still doing my best in the moment, though.
I think that
Yeah.
goes back to the vibe.
Mm.
We've created a vibe that it is perfectly okay to make
Air.
mistakes. Yeah. Okay, cool. You
Yeah,
said
the
something,
error is
but
okay.
and you're gonna get called on it
Mhm.
instantly right here on live camera, right? Like, and it's not that we are trying to be mean about it. It's just, is that what you meant? Oh, well, no, that's not actually what I meant. How did that come across? And so I mean, I've made a ton of mistakes. I have not had great vocabulary at many times. And I
But it's so
enjoy the
much better
corrections.
now.
Yeah, because I've been
Yeah.
corrected regularly, right? And it's not that it is coming from place of negativity, in that you're just pointing out that I'm wrong. It's that we all want each other to be better. So if I'm saying something that isn't as refined as it needs to be, that it needs to be brought up. Say, hey, let's clarify this a little bit. Is this what we're talking about? Absolutely it is. Okay, cool. And then we can move on from there. And that way we all have a really great conversation and we all come away as winners.
Yeah, and you say winners, and it's not even a competition, of course, for anyone who just heard winners and thought, well, who won? Well, no one won. Well, we all won. There
We
is
all
no
won.
winner. There is no loser. It's just all of us engaged in a conversation. Yesterday is the example with Steve Wilson. There was a couple of times in that conversation where I believe I said, where's the effect of, that's really great, Steve. Thanks for putting it across that way. I'd like to reframe what I just said in a sense of, because of your nuance. And I mean, that's what we're doing over here. It's not a hardcore finger wagging. If someone if someone's off message just a touch, they don't get punched in the throat. It's my job or our job to reframe that language in a way that we can keep the forward momentum going in the conversation, of course.
Yeah, great convo, by the way. I
It was a
listened
good
to it.
one, hey?
I
Steve
listened to it
killed
last
it.
night. Yeah, man, anyways, he's a great dude. He's helping with my mental health walk, and I use him to do little actionable items that we pass on to our group. So sometimes I don't feel like hearing the sound of my own voice, or I want my group to hear it from different lenses, and I will bring him in all the time to do it. So it's been
awesome.
great for that.
We'll see him again, no doubt.
Yeah, good dude.
Oh yes, I'm going to be scheduling something with him today, so we'll figure
Okay,
out good timing. Now we have a couple other comments here. Salty Jinx kicked in. He was talking about this earlier. Said about the vibe. It becomes a shared investment in the topic and discussion. That builds bonds and leads to long-term investment from those following all of you,
Yeah,
which
precisely.
I think is 100% right. Dr. C says both you guys are doing much better. So there you go. Take that as a compliment.
True.
And he says, it took me 5 years to get 1 million downloads, 1 million downloads a year. But all of you are right. It takes consistency and evaluating your performance. It's a rewarding experience, I believe. You guys are doing well.
And punctuation would really help there, Dr. C.
I'm glad you're good at podcasting.
That would be helpful, yeah.
Yeah, can you hear him typing right now? Oh, here we go.
I also took some lessons on voice diction and speech to help me because I had an issue with mumbling.
Oh, that's interesting. That's very interesting. But if you look at guys like Abe Lincoln, for example, one of the greatest speaker of all time, and he tanked a whole bunch of his early speeches until he started investing himself over and over again, reviewing old speeches and creating speeches and rehearsing. He spent countless hours, hundreds and hundreds of hours doing that until he delivered some of the most powerful speeches the world has ever heard. There's no accident.
Yeah, you know what's interesting using those comparisons. I'm not suggesting for a moment any of us three will ever crack out a mega speech, but we don't have the luxury of repeating our speech. We don't get to practice. Our practice is in the real time. It's real time speaking, real time mistakes, real time lessons that you don't get to go home and then re-practice your speech, because tomorrow it's completely different. Every speech is a unique speech, and so it's a much more fluidized and challenging improvement trajectory, I feel. I'm not throwing Lincoln under the bus, obviously, but it's just a different learning process, and I do believe it's a more challenging process to some degree.
Sure. I mean, I guess the argument could be made that yes, if he learns it by heart and that's all he's doing, but really what we were talking about is fundamental issues that he had in his speaking. So such as intonation and tempo and what words he used and vocabulary and everything. And so the study of according to those that were there to witness this story is that he was multifaceted in his approach to learning everything about communicating with other humans. So it's not just rehearsing the speech, but yeah, I get what you're saying though. It's absolutely accurate. You don't have a redo live.
Yeah.
And once the ND is gone,
it's there and it's on the internet forever. Yeah. This is one of the it's actually, I was thinking that was very similar to BJJ kind of thing, is that if you were to just step in and start rolling every day, your level of BJJ would increase quite quite dramatically, and it would be based on who you're rolling with regularly. I think it would.
Good point.
But you would still need your drilling, and you would still need your technique, and you would still need, because if you drilled, you would go the other way around.
Exactly.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So I thought that was quite interesting as you guys were chatting about that. So we're just about an hour. Do you want guys any final thoughts on the state of the collective, on anything we've talked about, anything we've done so far? Seb?
Just the one thing for me is, and it's not necessarily, well, it is sort of mutually beneficial, but Shaun, that Shadow and Light project you were talking about in your live,
yeah.
I did mine last night, and it's kind of one way to qualify it is it was incredible. It was incredible. And it's a very, very meaningful project, and the write-up that comes along with the incredibly artistic shots, and everything is just amazing. It's an amazing project to be involved in. So by all means, if you can, I thought of you yesterday, literally.
Thank you.
I was going to talk to you about it anyways, but definitely try to get in there if you can while you're here.
I'll try to make it happen. I have seen the body of work that he's put out, and I really appreciate what his intention.
Yep.
And so when I said I'll try to make it happen on my trip to Vancouver Island, I was not kidding. I will try to make it happen. But hearing that from you, I'll try extra hard.
Yeah, man, it was a very, very meaningful couple hours, and it was. I'm sure the sort of the reverberation will be felt on that one, because it had me do a lot of sharing.
That's good, buddy. That is good.
Yeah.
Everyone wins.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Seb, can you talk about the project? Because I don't really know about. I've seen the photography, but I don't know what the actual project's about.
Yeah, so he's basically, men telling their story, whatever that is. And those stories serve the purpose of moving the needle forward in the wellness department, whatever that is. And so it could be, self-help, it could be positive mindset, it could be anything that has a potential to positively affect the collective. And the stories have to be compelling enough and match the pictures and bring some humanity to the person that's being depicted. So it's generally people that perhaps have a bit of a public profile, or people that are known in certain circles, or whatever the case may be. But he really draws the humanity out of them, so that everybody can connect with them as humans, because that is all we all are, depending, irrelevant of what we do in life. And so the idea is to have I want to say he's got hundreds now, but like over the course of many years to do that, to perhaps put a book together called Shadow and Light, and have all the write-ups and all the pictures and the artwork. The artwork is fantastic, phenomenal. I've been, photographed more than I would care to admit. And that was a very, very, not only a very professional process, but it was a very therapeutic process. And it was to try to embody exactly what my write-up is going to be about, and what Shaun's write-up is going to be about. And it's an art, man. It's amazing. It's really well done.
What I've seen, how I categorized him, and that's why I said in my live chat today, yeah, if I can make it happen, I'll make it happen. It's soulful.
It is.
He captures soulful work,
Exactly. Yeah. And that's exactly the word that qualifies it properly. Yeah.
Awesome. Sounds awesome. Looking forward to seeing the write-up in the book and stuff. It'll be awesome. Shaun, any final thoughts?
No, we'll just keep on keeping on, crushing it, and look forward to seeing where we're at the end of this year. We'll be bigger, better, faster, stronger, but not for ourselves, for the team. And so stay tuned. It's going to get cracked out of the park.
It's going to get crazy. We got a big one actually on the 3rd. So this Monday. This is why Seb is here today, in case anybody was wondering. He's giving up a spot on his Monday, for just the one Monday, for the ladies panel. So we're going to have some awesome people on here. We're going to be talking about the cost of success, which is going to be a very neat topic. So do stay tuned. We got a bunch more coming. It's going to be really cool. The vibe will continue. I like it. So as we all learn more about the collective, as we all build that collective, we can grow as a collective, and we can do that every day here on The Collective. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Chimo.